Hi, good morning. So I have some really tough acts to follow here. Hopefully you'll find this topic compelling, if not its presentation. I'm going to talk about an authority that OSD recently gave to DISA, which is the authority to enter into other transactions. So what I want to talk about here is what are OTs, other transactions, why would we use other transactions, when would we use them, who's eligible for them, and so I'm just going to get right into it. So when you think of a other transaction, the best way to describe it is to think about what it is not. It is a legally binding instrument, but it's not a procurement contract, it's not a grant, it's not a cooperative agreement. So what that means is it's not a procurement contract, it's not governed by FAR. It's not a grant, not a cooperative agreement, which are covered by the Dodger. Okay? Actually, other transactions, as Mr. Montemoreno mentioned earlier, they've been around since the early 90s. They're really about over 25 years now. And they really weren't used all that much. But in 2016, Congress, in an effort to help us reach those companies that are developing the technologies, the innovation that General Lynn mentioned earlier, a lot of those companies don't want to deal with the federal government. So what the Congress did is they did three things primarily to the statute. They expanded the concept, opened the aperture of what constitutes a prototype. They raised the approval thresholds, and then they also made it much easier to go from from the prototype, the RDT&E phase, to the production phase. Okay, why use an OTA? So as I alluded to earlier, there are a lot of, the Department of Defense is not really driving the technological revolution. Industry is driving that revolution. And so if we want to tap in and leverage those capabilities that are being developed by the most innovative companies out there today, areas such as robotics, cyber, we need to have an instrument and a vehicle in order to do that. And again, some of the companies don't want to enter into FAR-based type contracts with the Department of Defense. Okay, so I mentioned that this concept of a prototype. I won't read off the slide here, but a prototype is something that's not commercially available today in the marketplace, although it could be a capability that could be modified to meet the mission of the department, and that may qualify as a prototype. Okay. So Mr. Montemoreno, also had mentioned that both large and small businesses are eligible to receive an OTA. There are actually three entities. We talk of this notion of a non-traditional defense contractor, and the non-traditional defense contractor is an entity that is not managing contracts that are subject to cost accounting standards for at least a period of 1 year prior to issuance of the request for white papers. So any small business is eligible for an OTA. And the reason is, if you think about it, small businesses are not subject to CAS requirements. Large businesses, if they partner with either a non-traditional or a small business, and the small business or the non-traditional is performing to a significant extent, and the law is very vague on what that means, they can also participate with an OTA. So as I mentioned, we recently got the authority from OSD to enter into other transactions. We developed our processes. I'll be honest with you, we pretty much mirrored what DIUX are doing, also with the folks up at Picatinny Arsenal. So we developed our own, what they call commercial solutions openings process. Okay. These are some of the current OTAs that are out there? And we can get you more information on these as well. So General Lynn had mentioned, and of course the theme of this event is innovation. This is a way to get to innovative companies. We also had talked a little bit about public-private partnerships. This encouraged those partnerships through the other transaction process. Okay, I know that it's very top level. I wanted to be able to leave some time for questions.
Yes, sir, Mr. Stewart. What are you doing to educate DISA government managers on how to use OTAs?
Okay, so great question. We host acquisition workshops. We will be doing several of those in the near future and getting out more and more information, but usually through the AEW process.